Okay, so now we're going to talk about reverb. What is reverb? Reverb is a persistence of sound after the sound is produced. In music, a reverberation is created when a sound or a signal is reflected, causing numerous reflections to build up and then decay as the sound is absorbed by the surfaces of objects in the space, which could include furniture, people, and air. Reverb occurs when a sound hits any hard surface and reflects back to the listener at varying times and amplitudes to create a complex echo, which carries information about the physical space. Reverb pedals or effects simulate or exaggerate natural reverberations. So why do we use reverb? In audio, we use effects such as reverb to recreate the sound of an instrument as if it was being played in a static acoustic environment. We use reverb plugins to further simulate these spaces and can control certain attributes of each space, such as the size, the material, what kind of space it is in, such as a hall, cathedral, bathroom, and room, etc. Reverb is a very popular tool when mixing, as it can fill in space between notes to thicken playing, or just make you feel like you're more comfortable in a dry room. It can also be used to stimulate a large space and make your guitar sound huge for ambient effects. It can make things seem bigger and larger than they are, as well as give them more depth and more sustain, making a track sound sweeter or glued together. Now we're going to look at some different types of reverb. First, start off with some natural types of reverb, such as a room reverb. This is our most basic reverb type, is a room. A room is a space with walls, and all rooms come in many shapes and sizes, and are designed for shelter and for people to exist, but not specifically for a great sound. However, each room has a distinctly different sound characteristic due to the way sound reflects off walls, creating its own unique room tone. For instance, a large wooden room will sound different to a medium-sized room made of concrete. Whether one is better or not depends entirely on what is being sent to the reverb. Rooms give a natural colour and a liveliness to the sound. They also sound like a more intimate space and could give the impression that all music is being played right in front of you. When we're going for a more natural, in-person, live kind of pretty sound, our common goal in acoustic styles of music like live, folk, and jazz, room reverbs are a good choice. Other natural types of reverbs are hall reverb. Concert halls are spaces that are dedicated to the enjoyment of music. They're built to specifically have minimal room modes, echoes, rings, etc. All the properties that a room reverb has. The hall reverb is certainly one of the most used types of reverbs in modern music and sound production, emulating the reverb effect of large hall spaces like a church, a theatre, and other large venues. Hall reverbs are often favoured for their ability to model large physical spaces. However, they can easily do more damage than help if one of them uses it unreasonably. If you apply too much of a hall reverb in a mix, and the long reverberations can make a mix sound too distant or just plain muddy. Many modern reverbs have a large number of parameters, and they could often produce a sound that is far away from any real-life physical space. Real hall spaces always have a long reverberation time. With digital processors, you can have depth and spaciousness of a large hall, at the same time the ability to shorten far too long reverberation tail that can create an undesirable muddied mix. Consequently, most of the modern digital reverb units have many modulation parameters. They are capable to control anything from the shape, the size, to the distance and the character. Setting these modulation parameters in the right way can really add richness and an organic quality that works well within the music. Then another natural type of reverb we have is a chamber. A chamber is a very small room made completely out of hard reflective surfaces. These hard surfaces, such as bricks or metal, allow the sound to reflect off each other for a great amount of time, giving a much longer decay time than most other reverbs. Chambers were a popular method used in the 70s to create a natural reverb effect. Engineers would set up a speaker in the chamber, playing the track they wanted to add reverb to. Then a microphone was placed inside the room to capture the echo that the room was provided and would record the sound on a separate channel with the reverb sound chamber on it. Now we're going to look at artificial reverbs. The first one we're going to look at is plate. Plate reverbs were one of the first types of artificial reverbs used in recording. They use a steel plate under tension supplied by springs at the corners where the plate was attached to the outer shell. Plate reverb is the sound of vibrations through metal, while rooms are the sound of vibrations through air. Sound moves through the metal of a plate, anywhere from 10 to 20 times faster than it does through the space of a room. Plate reverbs are great effects for lead vocals in a dense mix. And then we have spring reverbs. Spring reverbs are the most simple and inexpensive artificial type of reverb. They involve a metal plate frame connected to a bunch of metal springs. An audio signal is sent to one end of the spring by a transducer, and this creates waves that travel through the spring. They are very popular for guitarists and clean guitar amps and solos. They are not an effect you want to use on a vocal or a drum kit, per se.